Hi everyone, this is Arjun. Welcome back to my channel Nagarjuna Training Institute. Thanks for your support, guys. You are encouraging me a lot. Uh, Today's topic is we are gonna discuss about data stage interview questions on configuration file. So it means how it is useful for the data stage, and if it is not present, what is the impact of the data stage? We'll discuss about today with the interview questions. Okay, the interview questions they will ask most of the times and configuration are the listed in the document. The first question they will ask is what is meant by configuration file, what is meant by apt config, and what is the use of basically. So the configuration file is nothing but degree of parallelism. It means it contains the node information and disk information. Disk information is nothing but the resource disk and resource scratch disk. So we'll discuss about what is resource disk and resource scratch disk later on. So and then it will having the pool information and then the first name. First name is nothing but the server information. This all will present under the configuration file. So you can say in the interview, this is the enough. If they ask you what is the use of it, if the use is basically if you won't use it also, there will be a default apt config file. The config file is nothing but it contains this all the required information to process the data parallelism in the partition wise. It will split the data among the nodes and it will process the data. So without this, your data stage jobs will not execute and it will not process anything. It will fail or it will abort. So that is the first interview question. Let me show you how the configuration file can be viewed. So if you go to the tools, you can see the configurations. There you can see the configurations option. So if you select, there is a default.apt which will be created at the admin level when we are purchasing this tool for that particular project. So that is what the configuration. If you see the configuration file format, this is the configuration file format. By default, they will give two node configuration file. So this is the first question answer. You can say configuration file is nothing but degree of parallelism. It contains first name, pools, resource disk, and resource scratch disk, and node information basically. Okay, this is the first interview question. So where we can use this? Basically, it's admin level. They will be enabled for your jobs or your project level. So it's not required to be added. So if you want to add the configuration file, that will be coming in the next question. I will explain it to you. Next, I think it's clear for you all. Then the second question, what is meant by node? Node is nothing but the processing of the job or data. The execution of the job will execute on these nodes. So how many nodes we have? If we have more number of nodes, then the process of the data will split among these nodes and it will load it into a target systems. It might be Oracle or it might be any DB or it might be any files. So nothing but in our data stage environment perspective, node is nothing but the execution of your data stage jobs will happen on the node. So if the number of nodes increase, the performance of the job will get increased. Not in all the cases. When it is updating the multiple records at that time, number of nodes is not good approach. Again saying, number of nodes will increase the performance. Sometimes it will decrease the performance when the mass updates was happening. It means multiple updates was happening, then it is not good. So that is what meant by node. How you can see that node? The nodes which I have showed the configuration file, that is the node. If you open the configuration file, here our job is running on node 1 and node 2. It means two nodes which we have. So that is what meant by node. The next question. Is it clear, everyone? I'm thinking so it's clear. So next question is, what is meant by resource disk and resource scratch disk? This is very, 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 very important interview question. These all are continuously, they will ask any of those questions in the interview level. So Next, third question. What is meant by resource disk and resource scratch disk? Okay, fine. Resource disk is nothing but the permanent storage of your data sets. Basically, data set is nothing but it's an DataStage native format. It runs on orchestrate engine. It means whenever we are using the data set, it will create the data files, descriptor files, control files, and header files. So those files will be stored. Your data files will be stored under your resource disk. So regarding dataset interview questions and the flow, you can check my previous interview questions in my channel. You will get to know what is meant by dataset and all, the data files related things and all. Now, resource disk is nothing but permanent storage of your dataset. It means your dataset, data files will be stored under the resource disk. Okay. And how it will be stored and all, you can get to know by checking my dataset videos in the previous sessions. I'm showing you the resource disk now. This is the resource disk. Resource disk is nothing but the permanent storage of your data set. If you go in this path, I'm copying this path. If you want to check it, just go to, it is in my local machine. I'm able to look into it. So in real time, you are able to see in the Unix server level. They will configure at the server level. So now if you see, these are my data sets. So your data files will be created based upon node configuration file. So it means if you have two node configuration file, it will create two data files. It means if I have 10 records, 5 records will be there in one node and 5 records will be there in another node. Like that, it will divide the data and it will split into two data files. So this is the resource disk. It means permanent storage of your data sets. Then the second point, resource scratch disk. Resource scratch disk is nothing but temporary storage of your transformation. It means your transformations, whatever the source to target, in between any transformations are processing, the transformations will be done under the resource scratch disk. Once the transformations is done and the data is loaded into the target, then your resource scratch disk path will be an empty path. It means just your transformations will happen in the resource scratch disk, and then once your transformations is done, then this path will be an empty. Let me show you this path as well. If you see, so this is which it's not the DataStage one, it's some other one which I have created manually. So don't think about this. Whenever your DataStage runs, if any execution fails, then it will create the scratch file. Otherwise, if execution is successful, then you will not be having anything. It means your transformations will happen in the resource scratch disk. Once the transformations is done, nothing will be there under the scratch disk folder. This is what the resource disk and resource scratch disk. And everyone might not know what is meant by SMP and MPP. SMP is nothing but symmetric multiprocessing. Say symmetric multiprocessing. MPP is nothing but massive parallel processing. So, where we use this basically, the symmetric multiprocessing and massive parallel processing is nothing but, first I will explain SMP. So we can find out is it SMP or MPP by seeing your first name. If your first name is same in all the nodes, for example, node 1 I have 6603, node 2 I have 6603. If the first name is same, then we call it as SMP. It means shared everything. It means it will share the first name or else RAM, storage, hard disk, everything will be stored, shared in between the nodes. That is called SMP. So we can find it out easily by checking your first name. If your first name is same in all the nodes, then we call it as SMP. MPP. MPP is nothing but massive parallel processing. If your first name is different in between the configuration file nodes, then we call it as MPP. It means if your first name is different in node 1 and different in node 2, then it is nothing but shared nothing. So the node 1 processing, it will be happening their own, and node 2 processing is happening with their own first name. It means server name. So we call it as MPP, shared nothing. We don't share any hard disk or else RAM, anything we are not sharing in between the nodes. So that is called MPP. So that is called SMP and MPP. So what is meant by conductor node? This is very, very, very important interview question. So conductor node is nothing but where it seen. We are not able to see where it is. Basically, in the configuration file level, we can see this processing. This complete processing will happen in the configuration file. So conductor node main motive is it will start your job. When you compile and you ran your job, first conductor node will trigger and it will start your job. After conductor node started your job, then you will be having the section layers and player process. So section layer, player process, I'm not going to cover here. So I'm just going to cover what about the conductor node. Conductor node is to start the job, and once the execution completes, it will stop your job as well. And it will take the errors, portal errors, whatever the errors it is happening, all will be fetched from the conductor node itself. So if anyone asks about the conductor node, you can say to start the job and to stop the job, and processing of the section layers and player process will happen in between the conductor node. You can say this is the simplest interview question. If you want more in detail about this process, backend and all, so you can contact me. You will be having the number in the description level. You can contact me and you can get to know that. And if you are interested, you can join for the online training as well. So this is what the conductor will do. Then, can we create our own configuration file? Yes, and we can create our own configuration file. How we can create our own configuration file? I am showing it right now. If you go to tools configurations, then you can see new option. So just before that, if you want to take any copy of the earlier nodes, you can copy that. You can copy that and go to new. Click on new and paste it here. And then you can save it. If you want to create your own configuration file, save configuration as 2 node. That's it. Now, if you see, it is having 2 node. So this is how to create our own configuration file. So we have created our own configuration file. How to call this configuration file? So we have to go to environmental variables and we have to call that our own configuration file. To know more about this, you can contact me and you can get to know about the online training regarding this DataStage, and you will get clear picture on it. So as an interview perspective, these are the questions they might ask you. 99% they will ask you. These are the questions, most importantly, they will ask it. So where we can see this apt config file, as I said that if you go to any of the job, let me open any job. So I want to, whatever the 2 node configuration file I have created, if I want to add my own configuration file for that particular job, I want to go to job properties, environmental variables. There you can see apt config file. Select that apt config file and provide your own configuration file. This is overall about the configuration file interview questions. If you go here, there is a job properties, click on job properties, and then there is parameters, add environmental variable. Then you can see your apt config file. So this is the apt config file. Now, if you see the default value will be default.apt. If I click on this default.apt, double click on it, then it will show you the list of configuration files which you have. Now you have created 2 node configuration file, select that and click OK. Now it will run this job on the parameter which you have added in the job properties. So this is overall about the interview questions on configuration file. So please, if you like my content, subscribe to my channel and click on bell icon. You will get notified whenever we posted the new videos. And if you are interested to go for the online training, we are providing the online training. You can contact to the below number which we mentioned in the description. So you will get to know we are going to cover not only the DataStage, including Unix, Oracle, cell scripting, and data warehousing concepts, Git, Jira. Everything we are gonna cover in a single package. If you are interested to join the online classes, yeah, please free to contact me, and we will be having the interview support as well for girls and boys as well. So we will clear within a single round of interview. If you are interested, please contact the below number. Thanks everyone. Thanks for joining. Have a nice Dasra. Bye bye. Good night.